Good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Tyler Meredith. I'm with Mountain America Credit Union. I'm with our business services team. I'd also like to recognize Rachel and Angela. They're with our marketing and events team. You'll see them outside with our tables. Tonight, we'd like to welcome you to this speaking series. After this meeting, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us about our services, our lending services, our banking services. We're more than happy to answer any questions you have. Just a little bit of information for those who may not know about Mountain America. We fly a little bit under the radar, but just a little bit about us. Mountain America actually happens to be the #1 SBA lender out of all financial institutions here in Utah. And also the #1 SBA lender from amongst credit unions in the entire nation. Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate that. We also happen to be one of the largest business banking credit unions in the nation, which is fantastic. A lot of different services that we offer, ranging from our business accounts to our credit cards to our business loans, merchant services, payroll services, just a whole bunch of different things that we can help you with. So our team is here to help you succeed. I know a lot of you are interested in that, and that's why you're here, is to learn about how you become successful as an entrepreneur. So if you have any questions about business and how to be successful financially and work with a credit union on how we can help you become financially successful, please come and visit us after at the tables. I also have some business cards that I can leave with you. If you don't want to chat now, you can always give me a call after. Please be sure to stick around as well after the presentation for the dinner from Chick-fil-A. I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Hannah Wallenstein, our student ambassador from Hall Global Entrepreneurship Center, to introduce tonight's speaker.
Thank you so much, Tyler, and thank you to Mountain America for sponsoring this. We are so excited to do the final one of our semester here, and we're looking forward to next semesters. But I'll go ahead and read just a brief intro to our speaker tonight. So Jennifer Pettinger is the current CEO and co-owner of Sunprint Solutions in Salt Lake City. Sunprint Solutions is an 82-year-old commercial printing company that was founded in 1941. They specialize in offset printing, digital variable printing, direct mail marketing, and folding carton packaging. Their manufacturing plant occupies about 90,000 square feet, and they currently range from about 110 to 115 employees on average. She feels like her entrepreneurial journey is just beginning and is happy to share how she got to this point. So we're going to watch a brief video. Again, thank you to Jennifer to come to speak, and we are looking forward to everything we're going to learn from her.
From the beginning of an idea to the finished product in hand, Sunprint Solutions is a trusted partner for printing projects both large and small. As one of the largest offset printing companies in the United States, we care for employees, partners, and clients to make sure each project maintains a high-quality standard. What project do you have in mind? Sunprint Solutions started with offset printing, providing services to customers who want the most precise and consistent colors for large orders, with paper thickness up to 40 point. Another project might require digital printing. We excel at that too. This method is one most people are familiar with. It is done quickly and accurately on all kinds of substrates, with limitless customization options, including variable data and short-run projects. Looking to send a direct mail piece? Sunprint Solutions makes this widely used marketing channel a breeze. When it comes to products, appearance is everything, and packaging is no different. Put our team to the test with spot UV coating, foil stamping, embossing, die cutting, and more to present your product perfectly. Time to assemble. Shrink wrap, store, ship, and track your order with Sunprint Solutions, providing the logistics to make your fulfillment needs exceed expectations. With online, real-time tools for accurate and auditable tracking, you can view your project's course and get your pieces safely into the right hands on time. Sunprint Solutions heavily invested in data security and privacy technology for HIPAA and SOC compliance. Rest assured, our secured facility will pass regulatory audits and keep your information safe. No matter the size, we're ready for your next project. Trust Sunprint Solutions with the personal touch your next project requires and get it done successfully and efficiently at the highest quality standard that you'd expect and more.
All right, I'm Jennifer Pettinger. Thanks for coming tonight and listening to my story. So hopefully whatever businesses you guys start or currently have, you'll need some printing and we're here to help you. So anyways, this opportunity to speak to you really pushed me to think a lot about my journey to this point. My husband and I have been discussing what it takes to become a business owner and how I became, a business owner. And the word we kept coming back to was luck. So much of my successes have come from sheer luck. That's what I did with the luck and the opportunity that turned into success so far. I feel like I'd prepared most of my life to become a business owner. I was born to parents who were entrepreneurs. Gary and Lynette Nelson started progressive direct-to-mail advertising in 1976, shortly after their wedding. 4 years later, I came along for the ride, followed by my sister, Christine, and my brother, Sean. So I was raised in a small business, small family business environment. I had my first job in 6th grade because I wanted to buy my own clothes. I wanted, the name brands at the time. And my mom was like, well, you need to do that on your own with your own money. So that's when I started my first job, cleaning the offices and the bathrooms at work. So after, many years of doing that, I was about 16 when I decided I needed a different job. I wanted to go and work with friends. I went to work with my best friend at the time. Her family also owned a small business, which was Frampton Holiday Cleaners, dry cleaners up in the Holiday area. So I worked there, I think, for about 18 months, but that job taught me so much about customer service. I remember one very busy Saturday, the line of cars would not let up. It was super stressful for me as dealing with the public and trying to keep everyone happy. And I remember making a comment while I was standing next to the cash register, and my boss, who was my best friend's dad, was standing right by me. And I said something to the effect of, would they just go away? I just needed them. So of course he was like, this is the best thing we could hope for. We need to be busy. That's how the doors stay open. That's how we get paid. It is the best problem to have. That has stuck with me my whole life. I am always so appreciative when I'm busy, when the business is busy. So I also just learned the value of customer service and getting to know the clients as they would come in. Like, we could see their cars pull in and know by their vehicle who it was. We would go grab their clothes before they were even at the window. We would grab their clothes out of the back seat, hang it in there for them so they didn't even have to get out of the car. And it really showed me that, customer service matters and people are willing to pay a little bit more for better customer service. So when I decided it was time to move on from that job, I wanted to make some more money. I went back to my parents' company. So I was about a senior in high school, used work release to get some more hours there. And basically what Progressive is just a direct mail company. So other printers would print all the components, postcards, magazines, flyers, whatever. And they would deliver it to us, and then we would insert those into envelopes or address them, put the addresses on the mailers, pre-sort it for the post office to get the postage discounts, and then we would take it to the post office. So once I was there, I started in the production department. And then I moved up to be a machine operator. I learned how to navigate thousands of postal rules and regulations. Doing business with the post office is not easy. They have a lot of rules. They're gonna give you a discount. They're gonna make sure that you qualify. So because we didn't handle the printing, we had to be perfect. Like, and if we had messed up and had to pay to reprint it, all margins were gone, right? You'd lose in most aspects. And postage a lot of times was more than even the printing was. So we had to be very good at what we did. And we excelled at it, and we did a really good job. At one point, we were a little bit slow. I mean, every business has a season, right? So I decided at that point, it was, I'd go help in the front office. So I decided to see what I could do there. I learned how to invoice. I learned a little bit more about customer service, taking in jobs. And then I got into data processing and IT. We're a small company, so it's not like we had an IT department. So I learned on the job how to do all of that, how to have a server and how to handle our data. So I just tried to learn everything I could, from all the way to back, all the way to the front. So having worked for 2 family businesses, I learned the value of hard work and doing whatever I could to make sure that either my friends or my family or the customers were happy. I wouldn't let them down. So during my time at Progressive with the mailing side, I could see the value of direct mail marketing. I could see the value it had on small businesses and large businesses. Some of our biggest clients were like Smith's Food and Drug, Albertsons at the time, Larry Miller Automotive Group. And then we were also really heavy into political mail. So watching how these large companies handled marketing campaigns gave me, I think, invaluable insight into what worked and what didn't. Timing played a huge factor in the success of campaigns. The day of the week the mail landed in the mailbox, the amount of time someone had to respond to an offer, the type of offer and how it was presented, and on and on. So this gave me kind of that marketing bug to, what helped companies get a better ROI on their investment of that type of advertising. In 2014, my parents decided that it was time to step away and retire. At the time, we were working closely with a printer that was right next door. And we felt that in order to continue to grow, it'd be good to be more than just a trade shop and to get more into printing. So after a few years, we struck a deal and we were acquired by Sun Lithographing and Printing. At the same time, Sun also acquired another printer, which was Rapstar. That was one of the largest digital printers in the region. So we all merged together at the same time to form Sun Print Solutions. Offset printing, digital printing, and direct mail all under one roof. It was a whirlwind of a year. So my role at the company moved into sales. For the next 5 years, I worked really hard at learning more and more about printing and how I could maximize the opportunities that I had with both print and mail under one roof. Being commission-based in a sales role, I quickly learned that the sky was the limit on what you could make. But with that comes the risk, right? So when you're in sales, and you could risk losing your clients to another competitor, or they just don't need that product anymore, whatever the reason, that was the risk. So print sales is a really slow process. It can be a really slow process. Sometimes it takes years to land a really good account. So you had to always be thinking about that ahead of time. What am I going to do if I lose this account? So we always try to have a lot of accounts, obviously. So when one went away, you didn't feel it as bad. So at the time, there was really only one sales rep that also had direct mail. So I didn't have a lot of competition in the company for that type of work. A lot of the other sales reps, they focused on commercial printing, flyers, magazines, books, scrapbooking paper, things like that. And then the folding carton paper box department, and in that commercial, you saw the boxes that we had made. So I just didn't know a lot about that part. So it was during this time after we were acquired, that I got to know, the CFO, Sarah Deneau. And we became really close friends. Yeah, we work mostly in a very male-dominated industry. So it was really good to connect with someone, to connect with a female and become really good friends. So we had a lot of time and discussions and a lot of idea sessions about what we would do differently had we had the opportunity. So these 5 years were some of the hardest years of my career. There were changes made to the company that I didn't see coming, that I didn't really agree with. I have to admit that it taught me more than I realized at the time. It was a tough transition to work for a small family business for 17 years full-time, but really my whole life. And then be part of a larger company that for a short time we had almost 200 employees. Disagreeing with the new owner was also a challenge. A few times I wasn't sure if I was going to keep my job, so I started looking for other opportunities of business ownership while I was still selling direct mail as Sun. One of those that I looked at, my husband and I looked at a Big O franchise. There was an existing store for sale in the Wasatch Front area, and he didn't have any kids or any family members that wanted the store. And so he just didn't have an exit strategy. It was for sale. So we also had some other friends that owned some Big O tire franchises and, saw their success. And so we just did a lot of due diligence, met with them a few times, went over the numbers, but ultimately we decided it wasn't the right fit. So next, I looked at a CPA tax preparation franchise. My CPA at the time was franchising his business, and he asked me to take a look at it. So again, my husband and I got really excited about this. We even went to Florida, where a lot of franchise headquarters are. I think they choose Florida because who doesn't want to go to Florida, right? So he had there's like franchise companies that will help people who want to franchise their company and handle all the logistics and that. So we flew there and met with them, and we were ready. We were like, hey, let's do this. This is gonna be great. Then my CPA pulled his franchise off the market. There ended up being some laws and different things that he didn't really think about. And he just decided at that time it wasn't a good fit to franchise it. So we lost that opportunity. I was pretty bummed because I did find a CPA that we would have been a great team together, would be able to open up a lot of locations, a few locations at least, and and look at other opportunities. But it just never felt right after that that one didn't work out, and looked at a few other things. So I stayed at Sun and continued to grow my book of business and just kept learning. So I think around 2017, a group of other employees at Sun offered to buy the company, went to the owner and they gave him an offer. And he just wanted a lot more at that time than what they thought the business was worth. And so that offer didn't go through. So as luck would have it, in 2019, the owner did decide it was time for him to move on to other opportunities. And so he approached Sarah and me to buy the company. So timing was everything. So Sarah was the CFO and had already been with the company for about 10 years. And she knew the books better than anyone else. And I was one of the top sales reps. And so we trusted each other and we knew we would make a great team. This wasn't a total shock that he asked us to buy the company. It was more of a surprise of the timing. We probably thought it'd be a few more years down the road. And so, a little surprised, but we were ready. So we agreed to be the 4th generation employees to purchase the company. So on May 31st, 2019, we signed on the dotted line. Everything we have, our homes, our 401ks, everything is personally guaranteed. But we hit the ground running. We had already talked so much about it. We knew exactly what we wanted to change and what we wanted to do first. So printing is a very capital heavy industry. You saw in that video, there was a lot of equipment. This equipment, those printing presses, they range anywhere from $1 million to $4 million for the type of printing that we do. And there's more presses out there, maybe more than that, but that's our area. So talking millions of dollars. A printing machine, once you print it, you gotta do something with it. You gotta cut it, fold it, do other things. Those can range from $100,000 to, again, $1 million. So much equipment. So one detail about how we purchased the company was we did a stock purchase. So a lot of you would probably say you're nuts. Don't ever buy as a stock. Your attorney would probably advise you not to buy as a stock, buy as an asset, right? Because you buy as a stock purchase, you're assuming all the liabilities, debt, everything. But that was the only way we were going to be able to buy this company. So that's what we did. With the right team, you can put in some safeguards and help with some liability and the risk. So that's what we did. So shortly after we purchased the company, Sarah, the first thing she did was debt consolidation. Cash flow is one of the most important things in a company. So we had to make sure that you can have payroll, pay the bills for supplies, be supply heavy, a lot of paper, ink, all those things. So our debt is on the equipment. So luckily it's tangible. So we did go to Mount America Credit Union and they were able to do a debt consolidation loan. And that freed up some cash flow for us. And we also took some really heavy pay cuts when we bought this company. So we were invested, we're all in, and we were, doing everything we could to, in a way, turn the ship around. It was, in our opinion, kind of sinking. So little did we know that we had already received the last purchase order from our biggest client. To no fault of anyone, they just didn't need that product and that print anymore. It was about $4 million worth of annual revenue. So that was our first hit. Something else that hit us hard late in 2019 was that one of our big vendors realized that they didn't invoice us for clicks for a whole year on a press that we use daily. They sent us an invoice for over $100,000 to catch up. So it was a big blow. So we had to work really hard with this vendor to put together a payment plan because we couldn't afford just to hand over a check. We have multiple presses from this vendor, so the oversight was somewhat hidden. But we could have caught it by our accounting department, but lessons were learned and we're better for it now. So the next thing on the horizon that we did not see coming was a global pandemic. A few days after Salt Lake City shut down, like the restaurants and public businesses, we had an earthquake. We're in West Valley City, so we were not far from Magna where the epicenter was. At the time, I was like, wow, the world is gonna end. This is how this happens. I mean, it was just crazy. So, everything shut down with the virus, we have an earthquake, okay. So, things that are out of our control, obviously, but luckily, we just lost power for a day. No major damage, some machines shifted a little bit, but no one got hurt and the buildings were fine. So we got through that. So of course, over the next few months, we saw a lot of declining sales. Everything was shut down. And for most companies, everyone saw that. So, but what is unique about Sun is that we are a union printer. What that means is our production employees are part of a workers' union. From what I've been told, they've been union probably since before I was born. Many of you may have an interesting, thought process about unions or owning a company with a union that has, a collective bargaining agreement. We've seen and probably even felt some of the union strikes that have happened lately with the writers' union. Your favorite show went on pause. the United Auto Workers been on strike as well, so it's in the news and we get it. But what's unique about ours is it brings us a very specific type of work. So being union, we get a lot of political mail because there are candidates and propositions and things that want to use a union for their work. We get to print a cute little union bug that shows it was produced by union workers. So I don't do ballots. I don't want to be on the news. We handle the persuasion communications and voter registration, print and mail. And so what that meant for us in 2020, we were in a presidential election year. We just had to get through those first few months of the summer, that spring and summer, and we knew we had a big fall coming. So we needed all hands on deck. We were going to need all of our talent, all of our people in order to pull off this election season. We decided early on we were not going to lay off any of our staff. So shortly after that pandemic hit, the government introduced the PPP loan. Again, we went to Mountain America Credit Union. And of all the financial institutions we checked with about this loan, MACU had the best program. It was slick. It was really great. We had a really good friend who even worked for another institution, and he even couldn't help us out. So luckily, because we decided not to lay off anyone, we qualified for that PPP loan to get us through those really slow months in the spring and summer. So then political season heats up in October, and we found ourselves working so many hours that we didn't have a COVID outbreak at our company. We work with 100 people. So the thing we attributed to was that no one had time to go home and get exposed. They went home and they went to bed, and we came back and we did it again. And in our mailing department is where we worked the closest together, and it was fascinating. We were worried and nobody got sick. And so we had a successful record-breaking season that made up for those losses that we had earlier in the year. So Sarah and I, as the owners, we have a really good working relationship with our union. We negotiate the contract every 2 or 3 years, depending on what we decide how long that contract should last. And typically the things you negotiate are raises, COLA raises, and benefits. And our union understands that the best interest of everyone is to make sure that the company is successful and can continue to grow, that we can continue to increase employee wages, profitability, and invest in technology. So I do believe that our union has attributed to our longevity of our employees as well, because we have the best pay and benefits in our industry. Our union also has apprenticeship programs. This is a huge deal now that printing is not taught in trade schools and colleges anymore. We have a pressman who just celebrated his 50th year with us. He did go to college to be an offset pressman. So we don't have that luxury anymore. So we must train our employees within our company to keep that staffed. And the union does play a really good role in this. So then we come to 2021. Things are starting to get somewhat back to normal. And we are finding some really good success in COVID test kits. We were printing a lot of boxes for COVID tests. And they need the packaging, and so we saw a good bump with that. So then we felt that it was crucial that we were able to purchase our buildings. Again, Mountain America was able to help us secure the real estate loans that we needed to purchase these buildings. The reason we felt that it was so important to own our real estate is because as a printer, you can't just get up and move very easily if a tenant says, I'm going to kick you out. Now, we did sign a 10-year lease at the time, but that 10 years goes by fast. Those 2 years since we bought the company was in a blink. It would cost us millions of dollars to move our presses, to move all the equipment. We would have to re-pour concrete because our concrete slabs need to be very thick because of how heavy everything is. The amount of power that we have to bring into a building, it's just a huge undertaking. We did look at one point at possibly moving into just a nice big empty Kmart. We're in 3 different buildings right now. With growth, you just kind of organically grow, but not in the most efficient way. But the amount of work it would have been for us to move was just, it was too much. So we really felt we had to own the real estate so we could control where we were. And it was incredible how well Mountain America was able to help us with that loan. So later in 2021 and into 2022, we really started to feel the ripple effect of the pandemic. The supply chain really started to tighten up. And what had happened during the pandemic, when things were shut down, a lot of the paper mills had shut down, they stopped making paper globally. So we were pulling from inventory all over the world. And so now come 2021 and 2022, we were running out of paper. And our presses eat up a lot of paper. It goes by very, very fast. So I felt like all I did later in 21 and 22 was find paper. That was my job, just to source paper. Luckily, Sun used, over the course of many, many years, we've always used multiple vendors to get our supplies and to get our paper. So what that meant was we had allocation through multiple sources. And with allocation, it just means that because I was already buying that from them, they would guarantee me at least a percentage of it. So this was good and this was bad. Even though I wasn't getting 100% of what I normally ordered, I was at least getting something. But it also meant for new business, that was hard because I couldn't just now go out and source more paper or a different kind of paper because I didn't have allocation for it. So this was just, to get new accounts, it was tough, and just the printing industry as a whole was really, really crazy at this time. And we did a really good job of making sure we kept all of our clients, going with their products. But what this really taught me was the importance of vendor partnerships and vendor relationships, and the role that they can play in the success or the demise of your company. So had we only sourced paper from one vendor and they couldn't supply us with it, we wouldn't have had paper. And I do know of printers who they only sourced from one type of company and they didn't get enough paper, and that they really struggled. And so this was just another lucky thing that Sun did for their, as we did business, it was multiple vendors. So not long ago, I had an opportunity to go and listen in on a new and upcoming company in Utah. And they decided to hold some classes during the summer that the community could just come into and ask them questions and just talk about how they were growing and how they were doing things. And one of those sessions was, they were talking a lot about how no matter what your vendors quote you, you can always get them to go cheaper. And that you should always keep negotiating your contracts, and that you can always ask for a better price. And I don't think they're wrong, but it really got me thinking about, had they had their business during the pandemic, how would that have affected them? So what I found was that, during that time when we were short on supplies, or we were afraid we were going to be short on supplies, that big new book of business, we turned it away. I had to take care of the clients who've been with us a long time, that we had already had contracts with, and those are the ones you want to take care of first. So to me, I felt like that probably wasn't the best message if you're gonna jump around from company to company to company just to save a penny or a couple bucks. Because you need a vendor who's gonna have your back. You need a vendor who's gonna get to know your products as well as you do. When you, we've had times where we're wondering where that next PO was, and we call them up, we're like, hey, is that order coming in? I think you're probably getting low. And they're like, oh, I totally spaced it. Thank you so much for calling. I would have been in a lot of trouble if we would have run out. Or we catch mistakes for them. You know, it's just having that partnership and having someone who has your back is really important to your company. And so for us, when there's a company like that, that's gonna just go to you based on price only, there's a lot of times we tell our sales reps to move on. Because what we bring to the table is more than just price. It is a partnership. We want to make sure they're successful. We want to help them grow and support them. And to us, that's more valuable. So your vendor partnerships could end up being the most important thing, even getting you through a tough time. If you didn't get paid and you need to work out a payment plan, you need a little extra time to pay your bill. Good vendors will do everything to be on time and provide, you know, just better service. So just be a good customer and that will come back to you. So let's talk about how we've been growing our revenue. From the time we purchased the company in mid-2019 to this year, we've grown 35%. We've had growth through many different avenues. And a couple of ways is we've added more salespeople to our staff and through acquiring other printing companies. So because we were fortunate to be part of the Progressive and Rastar acquisitions in 2014, Sarah and I were not afraid to look at other companies for acquisition. The first one came from another family-owned printing company in Salt Lake City. Their name was Artistic. During the paper crisis, we reached out to them because we heard they had a paper sheeter. And what they can do with the paper sheeters, they can take big rolls of paper and they can cut it and sheet it and make it into sheets of paper. And that's how my presses feed paper, is sheets. And so at the time I was finding rolls of paper, so I needed to make it into sheets. So we approached them. And what surprised us was they said, would you just buy us? Okay, take a look at this. So we dove into this printing company to see what they had to offer. We didn't know them very well. And it became clear that this was going to be a really good tuck-in for us. So we did share one big client, but the majority, or that Artistic, had more of the lion's share of that work than we did. So to bring over that client, even more of their work and new clients was a win. So we had their equipment and their assets appraised by an equipment broker that's in the industry. And then we came to an agreement to do, it's basically called an earn back pay structure. So we purchased all the assets and then we agreed on a commission for the blue sky, you know, as they say in the industry, for a predetermined number of years. This was a great deal for the sellers because they could potentially make even more money on their blue sky because now we can offer more to their clients and they could grow their client base, you know, what they were offering to their clients even more. So we sold the excess equipment that we didn't need, and then we slowly migrated their work to our shop. The golden nugget in this transaction was the people. The employees that we gained from this acquisition could not have been a bigger win for us. They had the most loyal, hardworking, detail-oriented employees. They fit right in with our group. So in an industry that's very competitive locally, to get the best talent, this was by far the biggest gain for us. Salt Lake is known for how many printers there are here. There's so much, we call it iron because of the machines. There's a lot of iron in Salt Lake City in Utah. And so we do fight over talent. It is a talent to run this equipment and to know how to do this. So this was just a really big win for us. So the next acquisition came at the end of 2022. One of our envelope vendors in the valley needed an exit plan. So Ron Crandall, he owned North American Envelope, and he approached us to acquire his company. This was a unique one for us. We weren't sure really how that was going to tuck in. So we took a look at it, and after looking at the numbers and the crossover of clients, we decided, okay, let's give this one a shot. And again, we got some great employees out of it, and we've been happy with that. A book I've read many times in the past was Jim Collins' From Good to Great. So I highly recommend it if you've not read it already. So Jim says, those who build great companies understand the ultimate throttle on growth for any great company is not markets or technology or competition or products. It is the one thing above all others, the ability to get and keep enough of the right people. This has become very evident to us as we've been able to recruit and keep incredible talent. So a couple months ago, we were presented with another family-owned company for sale. This one happens to be out of state. So as we researched their confidential information memorandum, or SIM for short, we love their financials and we love their book of business. We decided it was worth going to go check out. So we flew to meet the husband and wife owners and see their place of business. We had dinner with them and we talked a lot about culture and their company and how important it was to them. So as they entertain other prospective buyers, they know that the continued success of their company will be because of the new owners and their employees will mesh well. We really enjoyed getting to know them, and we left realizing that their location was going to be a big challenge for us. We needed to make sure we had the support to give those employees so they wouldn't leave. If they leave, we lose our investment. So we didn't have the right person in mind to send and move to this location. And we didn't want to, take one of our top employees away from Sun. So we ultimately decided to pass on this opportunity because this just wouldn't be a full tuck-in as our other acquisitions have been. Because now it'd be a new location into a new state, and it just needed more support. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we were approached by their broker again. The sellers could see that they were the heart of that company and that the potential buyers saw it too. So they were, all the buyers have been apprehensive about them leaving. So the sellers have decided that they have no choice but to stick around for at least a year or more so that a buyer would have more time to fill their shoes. The broker then told us that the sellers preferred Sarah and me to buy them because they could tell that we know the most about their book of business and how much we care about employee culture. This news was great because on the books, it was hard to walk away. So we're back at the negotiating table and we're really excited for what this means for both of our companies. So Mackie will be talking in a little bit. We still got a little bit left on that SBA, right? But I do feel that because of what I went through during and after the purchase of my parents' company, I have a much greater understanding of what these employees and the remaining family members are feeling and what they're afraid of. And so I don't want them to feel what we felt. And so I try really hard to explain changes we want to make and why we want to include them in the decisions and asking for input. We feel that's really important. And then sometimes just understanding that they just need time and patience while they adjust to a new normal. These family businesses are built with so much blood, sweat, and tears that I do feel they deserve to be treated with a lot of respect. And it's more than just a job to them. In many ways, it's their identity. So each year, we like to make a new t-shirt that we pass out to our employees. And one of my favorites that we did a couple years back is a collage of all the company logos that Sun has formed to make Sun. And in a way, it's acknowledging them because they still do exist, but just with a different name and a bigger group of friends. So what also these acquisitions have taught me is how important an exit strategy is. Sunprint Solutions would not be 82 years old if the prior owners did not have an exit plan. As you build your company, be sure to ask yourself periodically, if I were to sell, will it keep going without me? You want that answer to be yes. Or at least with some consultation and a little bit of help. If the answer is no, it won't be successful without you, then you don't have much to sell. And if you're looking to retire and do something different, no one's gonna buy it because they'll need to buy you. So someone that I've looked up to in business for a long time is Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. I like Sarah's, clearly they're very smart. I find her story fascinating. I love that she's a self-made millionaire. I've followed her for years. And I love how she supports other women and entrepreneurs and women in business. I love her clothing as well. I probably wear a piece of her clothing line every single day. Pants, shirts, jackets. My husband sees the bags come all the time. Something that stuck out to me is when she sold the majority stake of her company, I think it was in 2021, she gifted each of her 500 employees with 2 first-class airplane tickets and $10,000. I'm willing to bet she gave a little bit more to her top executives. And I love when owners recognize that the employees help get you where you are. We can't do it without them. Another topic she has spoken extensively about is don't be intimidated by what you don't know. That can be your greatest strength and ensure that you do things differently from everyone else. I can say there's so much I don't know about printing or owning a printing company. And I'm not afraid to admit that. I know where we have done some things differently and than other traditional print shops, and it's worked out great for us. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to keep learning. I don't want to be afraid to change my perspective. You also need to have a passion for what you do. You work way too hard owning a company to not be passionate about it. When I was looking at all those other companies to find one to own, I always asked myself if this was something I could be passionate about. And right now, I am passionate about what we print at Sun. We focus on paper products, and that's important to me. I like that paper is recyclable. I'm passionate about the tree farms across the world that grow just like any other crop over and over again to make paper. I'm passionate about putting other companies' brands into their prospects and clients' hands. I'm passionate about how direct mail and digital marketing work together in a huge sea of advertising to get our attention. And I'm passionate about political direct mail. Our democracy and freedom is because of our election process. Sometimes we feel like it never ends. But there's countries that don't get that opportunity to read about a candidate or a proposition, let alone vote on them. We'll be biased for a moment, that when I hear about how much money a campaign spends, I think about all the businesses that receive the money for the various forms of advertising and the trickle-down effect that has on our economy. It does contribute to our GDP in a positive way. So if you need a positive spin, there you go. A question I get asked many times is if I sleep at night or if I'm too stressed. Truth is, I sleep better most nights since buying the company. Those years that I had felt that my fate was in someone else's hands was very tough. Well, there's so much stress that comes from having everything on the line, worrying about all the employees and running a company. It's better for me to know that Sarah and I have control of our destiny. I mean, there's things out of our control like pandemics and wars and all those, but to be able to make decisions based on those things, I feel confident about. So I'm proud that we're 100% woman owned. I'm proud that we're increasing our revenue, and I'm proud of our team. I'm proud that employees choose to work for our company I take that very seriously. I'm proud of the investments that we've made into the company, that we're committed to the longevity and the success. And would I do anything differently? Maybe, sure, but then I wouldn't have learned the lessons I did. Mistakes happen, they are unavoidable. It's how we handle them that matters. Another quote from Sarah Blakely is that it's important to be willing to make mistakes. The worst thing that can happen is you become memorable. Another quote, and this is brought maybe from someone else, but it's from our COO, Stephen McTee. No matter how far down the wrong road you go, it's never too late to turn around. He says that a lot in our shop. And we do need that advice a lot. We're like, let's give it a try. We can always turn around. So I'm lucky though. I'm lucky that the prior owner's son didn't sell to a venture capitalist. He could have, you know, torn this apart and sold this for parts. And I'm lucky and honored that he did choose me. I'm lucky that the timing worked out and that I could buy the company. And I'm just lucky and honored to work with such amazing, talented people, including my siblings, that they still support me. And they make it a lot of fun. I'm lucky and honored that my husband even works with us and that his talents really contribute a lot to the company. And I'm lucky and honored to run this company with Sarah. So yeah, and I'm lucky to be a mom and show my kids that you can do anything with hard work. And I'm honored to be here tonight to speak to you, and happy to answer any questions if you have any.
So you shared that a group of employees attempted to purchase the company for, the owner said, well, the owner wanted more. Then you mentioned you weren't surprised that he came to you and Sarah. I'm curious, why weren't you surprised?
It was always discussed. Even from before he purchased my parents' company, it was always, he did talk and think about his exit strategy. That was something he did really well. And so I was part of those conversations. The group that went to him in 2017 was, Sarah was part of that group, and there was 2 other people. And it's all about timing. I mean, he just wanted a lot more than what they felt like the company was worth. And by then, those individuals, things had changed in 2 years. So when he was ready to sell in 2019, just the relationship that, you know, we all had, it just worked out better for us. So.
Thanks.
Anything else?
How many employees do you currently have, and what is your current revenue status?
So for us, we averaging right from 110, 115 employees right now. And our revenue, all of our odd years are a lot lower than our even years because of the political, how the political cycle works. So on our political years, we're hitting about 30 million. And I think we're about 23 million on odd years. So yeah, it's a substantial, but yeah, when we bought it, I think we were down to about 16.
It's still great, so great.
Thank you.
You've done well.
Honestly, it really has been fun. It goes by fast. Yeah.
How far into the future do you plan? Is it a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year plan, or is it day by day, week by week?
Day by day. No, we do ask ourselves that a lot. And because I'm only 43, Sarah is 42, 41. So we have a lot of years left in us, technically. So, I mean, we like to plan maybe 5-10 years down the road. And so, yeah, we don't have that exit right now because I still feel like we got a lot of years left in us. So it is something that we do think about. I mean, in our industry, you know, these smaller family companies are a lot easier for us to buy. You know, if their revenues were, you know, a couple million a year to up to 5 million a year, like that's just an easier purchase. When you start getting into like our size, you'd probably be having to look at private equity or venture capitalists, that kind of thing. So we would take that very serious because just what that means to the employees and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, luckily we're young enough that we haven't had to get real confined on that yet. Yeah,
I know that the printing business is not only very competitive, but it's also a shrinking business.
It is.
A lot of people are going,
Mhm.
they're doing things, sort of the omni-channel, method.
Mhm.
When someone wants to do business with you, what do you say to them, particularly of what makes your company stand out versus the competition?
so yeah, there's so many different kinds of printing companies too. I don't do any kind of wide format, I don't do banners, I don't do big stickers, floor stickers, and I don't do flexo, so like protein powder bags, and there's so many different kinds of printing. So we're talking about what we do, folding carton packaging, direct mail and all that, because we're not the cheapest, and we tell our sales reps, you can't sell on price always, because it just doesn't work that way for us. So we like to sell on turn times, and so meeting people's deadlines. We have a lot of firepower, so we can turn things very quickly. And then our quality, we got a really high quality control rate. A lot of the different embellishments and things we can do, like on boxes, we can do like oil stamping and spot UV, and we can make things look really cool. So we'll sell on that. And then it's our sales reps, it's those connections that they make, their networking, and the relationships they make with those clients. And so it's really important to them, being commission based, that they keep those clients, because that's their paycheck. So yeah, it's a mixture of things.
Then a follow-up question with that is, what are some of the companies that you do business with? Like, what is your portfolio looks like? Like, do you do a lot of businesses with local outfits, or more of like the larger, the Targets, or the Walmarts of the world and that type of thing?
So it ranges a lot, very much, all the way down to, we do very small jobs and we do very, very big jobs. So we're in the healthcare space. So we do a lot of Medicare enrollment and health plan benefit stuff. So that was really important during COVID. Luckily, that didn't go away. That's kind of the stuff you got to keep communicating in the mail. Retiree benefits. We do a lot for telecommunications, and then so like right now we're doing a big project for Amazon. So it can range, right? We used to do the boxes for ancestry.com. They just didn't need them anymore, because I think everyone who wanted DNA just, so I know they're introducing new services, so hopefully that will come back. So we just it ebbs and flows. With direct mail, we just have such different verticals between direct mail and folding carton packaging, and having that diverse mix. There's times our folding carton packaging division is what's carrying everything, and then there's times when my direct mail is carrying everything, because folding carton is slower. And so yeah, it ranges. But when you talk about the consolidation of the market, you're not wrong. It is definitely consolidating.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing happen is this, merging of a lot of companies, making us stronger, the ones that have the savings, the capital not to invest. And then those other ones, it still needs to consolidate even a little bit more. Direct mail really came back quite heavily during COVID. They really found a lot of companies where they just weren't reaching people through digital media. It's so easy, right? You can hit spam, you can just hit delete. But with direct mail, you're gonna make a decision. Like, you're gonna see and touch and feel that piece, even if it's for a couple seconds and throw it away. But there's all the studies that show over and over again, you're gonna trust that. Someone had to really make an investment to print that and send it to you. And so we saw a big surge come back with direct mail. But yeah, it's, printing is just a weird thing. I can see that flexo, that might shrink a little bit as plastics and all that become a big hot topic with sustainability, and we need to find other ways to package that kind of stuff. Paper might be the better option. So these are the kind of discussions, and that's why we feel passionate about paper. So that's just the market we've stuck with, and that's the one we know the most. We haven't branched out. So yeah, did I miss anything? Yeah.
Thank you.
Tell us about the role of technology.
There is so much technology, and that's probably our fastest growing sector of our business, is the technology. So we have a lot of software that even like banks and big large insurance companies and the like have, and they have this whole thing in there called customer journey. What happens in there is they would have like all of you in this database, and depending on what you do and how you react to certain things, like on the, if you react to an email, if you react to a text, a voicemail, or you did scan a QR code off a direct mail piece, that will change your journey throughout their sales cycle. And so we're a part of that. And so that means it's based on, you know, certain triggers. It will trigger direct mail, it'll trigger a text or an email. And so they will find every way to get your attention. And so, yeah, that's one of our technology roles. And that's why variable printing has become a really great growth avenue for us. And that's something that does set us apart in our own marketplace, is the presses that we have. So every single piece is unique. So it's not just your name and address on that piece, like we're putting your personalized information all over the place. And so that's very different than our offset side. That's just static or the same piece that's coming out. So yeah, we try to go down that technology road because we do feel like we're gonna be more of a technology company that does some print.
And to follow up on that, tell me about how that interacts with security.
So because of data, we all know how important data is. So like on our commercial, you saw we have key card access. So we've had to go through some very rigorous processes and put implementations in place to keep people's data secure. Because when we're dealing with direct mail and a lot of, you know, healthcare and all that, we are dealing with some pretty sensitive data on their pieces. Like we're sending them out their, you know, your plan information or how much you have in your HSA account. So we have a data center that's locked down, and then we had to go through all these audits that are ongoing all the time to make sure we have penetration testing, that you can't get into our firewalls. And then also that we're SOC compliant, we're SOC 2 type 1, we'll be SOC 2 type 2 next year. And so, yeah, we have to be extremely careful and secure and have a lot of processes in place for our entire company on how to handle that kind of printing. Obviously, my folding carton side, you know, they don't have as much security. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just have one.
No, I love it, it's good.
What are your company's biggest challenges?
Let's see, our biggest challenges is people. Definitely making sure we have enough employees. There's so many industries that we see that they just can't find enough employees, especially in Utah. Utah's so unique and amazing. We have such a low unemployment rate. And so there's a lot of times that just finding the right people who want to be in manufacturing, who want to step on their feet and handle product and paper. We are worried about that. We're worried about that for the future. So we go to a lot of trade shows. We just got back from Atlanta, it's a print trade show. And the big thing there is robots. You know, how are we going to put robots in place? Because, you know, we're doing a lot of repetitive motions. So we haven't, you know, employees that have been doing this for years and years, and it breaks down their body. And so we're trying to find ways then to how do we get better equipment so that the employees that we have, we can utilize them better and still be efficient and productive and grow capacity. So I'd say that's probably our biggest challenge is people.
It's labor, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to train that much, even in the direct mail side. And you got to know so many rules and regulations about how to put an address on a piece. You'd be surprised. I mean, if they printed they call it the DMM, the domestic mail manual. If when they used to print it was about this thick of a book. And we had to know everything about it, or else your mail would get rejected. You'd have to reprint or redo it. So many rules, because when you think about the post office, I'm their biggest cheerleader, okay? They are doing incredible things. How many pieces of mail that they deliver in a day will blow your mind. If you ever get a chance to go do a tour at a processing facility, go and do that. They are just the backbone to our country and what they do. And when you go to other countries and you see they don't have a postal service like we do, I can see the difference in what that is with communication. And so to train people to know those kinds of rules so that we don't have any problems and the mail goes through, it gets delivered and on time and all that, it's hard to train that and for people to want to know that. And then just how to handle these machines. I mean, you're dealing with paper, and I mean, we have to keep our humidity at a specific level or there's static in the air. So we're throwing a lot of water into our buildings, and like mist and humidity. And so it's an art. And even on offset printing, it's kind of science. It's chemistry, there's oil, water, ink, and you're trying to get this all perfect to lay on a sheet of paper, and color is so important, all these things. So it's really hard to train these people, and where it's not in college, it's not taught, we have to do that internally. So when you lose an employee, there's a huge liability, just the amount of money that you lose in tribal knowledge, and that is a big deal.
I have a follow-up to that.
Okay.
And I think it ties in really well. I think that as some of us consider entrepreneurship, opening up a business, obviously we're gonna need employees. And you talk through that, I can tell that you've been very intentional on how you organize the conversation. Very grateful for that. Talk a lot about culture and people. So I think it's two questions. One is what advice do you have on identifying a good asset in an employee? And then the second is how you create a culture and environment, as you have and Sarah has, to keep them. I mean, you talked about an employee for 50 years, and I'm like, what? Wow.
Yeah.
So, so that's two-sided,
Yeah.
two points that, how do you identify? Because I find even in I work for a technology company, lots of turnover, lots of layoffs, and hiring is very difficult. So what advice do you have for an entrepreneur, right, to hire? And then the other part is, how do you create that culture as you're building your organization, as you grow to 100 employees, to keep that core?
So for us, when we're trying to find, those production workers that are gonna be in the manufacturing side of the plant, we're looking for people who, they don't want to sit at a desk. Luckily, we have plenty of people who, they want to be using their hands. They want to be on their feet. So number one, we're looking for that. And then just that they're teachable, that they're willing to learn some skills, that they can pay attention to some details, read a work order and see the print, and, just paying attention to details and things like that. They just got to be able to be taught and want to learn new things. And then, I would say, as far as advice on culture, that was such a big deal for us. We felt like where we were before we bought the company was definitely a more toxic culture. And we had a lot of employees leaving, a lot of really good talent. So for us, that was like our big mission, was to fix that culture. And what that was for our company was just showing that we care and that we appreciate the work that they do. We appreciate the time that they spend when they come and work for us. It was just giving them parts for their machines to make them run better, so they weren't fighting, trying to make something because the machine wasn't up to par. It was just reinvesting into it. Instead of when you're with companies where you can see that the owner is like, this is all for me, I'm taking all this money, and I don't care about what's going on, it's running and it's fine, it's not broken, don't fix it. That's when morale goes down, right? And so that was our biggest thing. That's another reason why we're investing into the company, is because of what that does to the culture. When they see you putting money back into the company instead of putting it in your pockets, they're like, hey, you want to be around. You care about this. You care that we do a good job. You care that I'm not frustrated because I'm trying to meet this deadline, but I'm working on this really old ancient piece of equipment. So, it doesn't run very well. So for us, that's really how we changed it. We also do a lot of things where, we just have like big, lunches, and, we try to do fun things. We gotta be busy and get things done, but we also try to do fun about it, because we gotta be there for so many hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I talk about, political, and we're there so many hours of the day, and the only thing that gets you through is, there's an election and that's gonna end, and that's the light you gotta get to, right? But what can we do in the meantime so that people want to keep coming? So finally in 2022, we did a little bit of this in 2020, but I feel like we perfected it in 2022, because right, you're still just as busy, even though it's not presidential, because everyone's trying to swing the house together, just as busy. When we work on the weekends, we provide meals. We have everyone is provided a lunch or a dinner, and then we set up an incentive program where, because we need extra help, right? You need temps, like we can't just do it with just us, like we have a lot of extra help. So when you're having a lot of, we had a lot of friends and family come and help. So what we did is we incentivized, like, if you're gonna be here, you might as well have your friends and family here to work with you. So we paid them, but then we made it fun. And it was like, okay, if you bring us an employee, then we will give you a $25 gift card for every 4 hours that they work. And if you, like on Saturdays and same on Sundays, like we did $50 of a gift card for every 4 hours they work. So we threw money at the employee, and then also we paid their friends and family. We did other things, like we had a wheel that we would spin for prices, and we'd walk around and just people would spin a wheel and get prizes. And then we even had one that was called the money bag. And so what was it, like $2,000 of cash we put inside this bag, and if you pulled out ones, you could keep pulling it out, and if you got anything else, that's when you would stop. And honestly, when you see your CFO walking around with a money bag, you're like, this is really fun. You know, it's just, you know, when we look at how much we spent, right, in incentivizing people to come and work and all the extra overtime. And here's another thing about our employees, because we're union, they get paid daily overtime. This is not you work 40 and then you get overtime. That day, if they work more than 8 hours, they get overtime. And I like that as a business owner, because if you're gonna make the investment to come and work for me for more than 8 hours, and maybe you needed to pay your babysitter longer, or maybe you had to take an Uber because the bus isn't working at that time, or whatever, you should be compensated for that day. So when you look at it from a company aspect, that's a lot of money, right? Paying time and a half and then double time on those days that they're working, you know, 12 hours a day. So they're making really good money. So are we, so is the company. Like the amount of work that we're able to get out in 30 days more than makes up for it. And so we are happy to incentivize them for their time, and we're glad that we can. Another thing we do is we try to be very proactive about raises. I mean, not only does the union, you know, the production workers have like a yearly COLA raise, but even with like your office people, like your technology and all of that, sometimes we're like, okay, if this person was to come to us and say, I got a better offer, how are we going to react to that? We need to beat them to the punch. And that's make sure they're giving them raises, you know, more often than maybe, you know, prior owners did, so we can keep them, and that they don't even want to go look. So those are just some of our tricks that we've done, and it works. We have quite a few employees in their 20 years, 30 years. So, you know, we feel like we've made the culture so that if you're gonna go to another print shop, and those that have come from other print shops, they're like, you guys have it really good here. This is really cool. So.
Thank you.
Okay, we better come off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good. Say thank you. Thank you for Mount America. Thank you for your time, for your efforts. We really appreciate it. I feel like we all learned a lot. Again, thank you, Mount America, for all your time and your efforts. Everyone, thanks so much for coming. Please feel free to go grab some food, definitely network, get to know Jennifer, everyone else here. And again, thanks for coming.